of people flocking towards the city of Karbala, visiting your father, visiting your uncle Abbas, visiting your brother Ali al-Akbar. This will happen. This will definitely happen without a shadow of a doubt. Think about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repaid Imam al-Hussein in that sense. What we see today, as I mentioned, wars come and go. World War II crushed 40 million people to death. After World War II, the United Nations was established in order to stop and prevent wars from happening. And sure enough, it prevented wars in Europe, but not in the rest of the world. The rest of the world witnessed nothing but bloodshed and wars. Since World War II to this very day, in 2008, 100 million people have been killed as a result of wars. And so all these big events, they take place, but they cancel each other out. We have a short attention span, a very short memory. As human beings, we're all suffering from some form of amnesia. We just forget these events. What makes the day of Ashura so special? Once again, I ask. And the answer to that is very simple. There are a few things. One, Imam al-Hussein, his character, his morality, his personality, his ancestry, his family relations. That's one aspect of Imam al-Hussein. Inshallah, coming in the next few nights, we'll expand on some of these concepts more, but just give you a brief overview. Imam al-Hussein's character was one reason. Number two, the circumstances surrounding the movement carried out by Imam al-Hussein. Think about it. One single individual challenges an empire. That empire collapses, even though it was built and designed to last for millennia. Muawiyah and Yazid, they never envisioned the day on which their empire, their dynasty would collapse. It was really designed to last for thousands of years. Imam al-Hussein himself stands up and challenges it. Number three, the third reason that makes Ashura so special is the aims and the objectives of Imam al-Hussein. Look at Jesus. Jesus, what makes him special wasn't the number of people that accompanied him through his travels. There were only 12 of them. It wasn't the distance he traveled. He traveled within a very small and confined geographical area. What was so special about Jesus? What makes Jesus so special that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about him in the Quran? When the angels came to Maryam, they offered her glad tidings of a son being offered to her from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَجِيهًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, the Quran says. He is noble and he is respected in this world as well as the hereafter. If you think about it, there's probably no other figure more respected than Jesus in the world today. Christians respect him. Muslims respect him. That's half the world population. Our Prophet was great, no doubt about it, but he has enemies. He had enemies and he continues to have enemies. Jesus is respected by all. So what was so special about him? It was his aims, his objectives. What were the aims and objectives of Imam al-Hussein? As we'll come to talk about in the next few nights, inshallah. لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةَ الضَّلَالَةِ. He gave the blood of his heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most sacred blood in the body. You could give blood as a donation from your hand or your feet or what have you. But the blood of your heart, that is the closest thing to your life. Imam al-Hussein gave that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what? لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ, to salvage and to save your servants, O Allah, from ignorance. So the aims and the objectives. That's why every year we gather together to mention Imam al-Hussein. You come here, as we mentioned, to hear the same stories. In fact, you listen so tentatively as if you've never heard this story before. As if this story didn't take place in the past, but is about to take place in the future. There is a countdown towards the day of Ashura. Every single night we talk about Imam al-Hussein, and you're expecting that great climax of tragedy on the day of Ashura itself, as if it will take place, happen in the future. SubhanAllah. Unbelievable. Imam al-Hussein is the one about whom the Prophet spoke. Our own Prophet, in fact, let me mention this very briefly. Al-Allam al-Amini, one of the greatest scholars of our time, he passed away about 50 years ago. He's the author of the famous encyclopedia known as Mawsu'atul Ghadir. He wrote this encyclopedia after going through 100,000 books. He literally read through 100,000 books. We're not talking about doing a little search on the internet. We're talking about someone traveling from one country to another, from one city to another, from one town to another, from one village to another, finding all these sources, authenticating them, reading them, extracting what needed to be extracted, and compiling them in this book. This is about 50 years ago, when there were no tools, there were no facilities available. So during one of his trips, and by the way, I don't know if it's been translated into English, but if you are able to read that book, it is absolutely amazing. By far one of the greatest masterpieces in Shia thought, which proves the succession of Imam Ali after the Holy Prophet of Islam. And during one of his travels, it is said that he went to Syria. He went to Egypt, he went to Saudi Arabia, he was in Iran. But he also went to Syria, and one day, some of the local students who happened to be followers of the Sunni school of thought, they heard of Allam al-Amini's arrival, and they wanted to go to him. They said, let's go talk to him, engage in a meaningful conversation, and which is wonderful, really. I mean, this is something that we call for all the time. And they said, well, let's debate him on the question, on some of the contentious issues that the Shia are known for. You know, we're known for prostrating on the turba, and we're known for, you know, some of the views that we hold. So they went to him. They started a series of discussions and dialogues and debates, which eventually were compiled into a book. The book is titled Siratuna wa Sunnatuna, Siratu Rasulillahi wa Sunnatih. Our traditions and our way is the same tradition and the way of the Prophet. What happened was they went up to him and said, these things that you do, they're all innovations. I mean, the majalis that you hold, you cry for Imam Hussein. This was one of the focal points of the discussion. And they said to him, these are innovations. The Prophet never practiced this. It's funny, you go to, or you try to go to the cave, Ghar Hara, where the Prophet received revelation for the first time. You know what they tell you? They tell you that people there, once again, being paid to harass the pilgrims, they tell you that this is something the Prophet never did. He never went back to the cave in order to seek blessings from it. The Prophet spent years in that cave. Hello. So these people told Allam al-Amini that these are innovations. The Prophet never practiced this, therefore it's an innovation, and an innovation by definition is haram. Allam al-Amini, in this book, which is available today, proved that the Prophet, not only did he practice mourning and sit through mourning sessions for his grandson Imam al-Hussein prior to his death, prior to his martyrdom once, but he did so on at least 20 different occasions. The first, you're all familiar with.